What's up guys, it's a Fluff Angel here. Welcome back to the channel, and for today's video I wanted to give you guys some tips on how to collect manga. Just a little background about myself. I've been collecting manga for a little over 4 years now. Within that time I've managed to collect over 400 volumes of manga that I'm very proud to own and display on my shelf. And during that time I have done a lot that I would recommend others to do and a lot that I would heavily advise others not to do. And with that being said, the first tip that I usually tell people when they are trying to collect manga is to pick something that interests them. Obviously, that's a no-brainer, but it's a thing that a lot of people overlook, as those looking to get into anime and manga typically buy things that everyone's buying or read things that everyone is reading. When there's a lot of really neat and niche series out there that not a lot of people know about because they just haven't looked into the medium as a whole. By that I mean, what I usually advise people to do is pick a favorite genre. You know, you can go the more action-oriented genre, such as the shonen series, or if you're more into a romance-type story, you can go the shoujo route. Or if you want to read a more intense, very mature story, those people who are interested in that typically read seinen series. So that's definitely something to consider when collecting, is kind of picking out what you want to read. What experience do you want to get out of reading the manga? And I think that's something that a lot of people tend to overlook. When you have a particular series or genre in mind, a good starting point would be kind of looking through the different titles that genre may allow. So, you know, when you're looking at the shonen series, you have the more popular series such as the My Hero Academia, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach. But you also get series that not a lot of people may know about. One of them being is Dead Man Wonderland. While it was pretty big at one point, not a lot of people nowadays are talking about it. And that's a series that, you know, I highly recommend, and I'm really glad I looked into it because I fell in love with the anime. And at that time, like I said, not a lot of people were talking about the manga, so it's just one of those things that is worth looking into and worth branching out. When you find a particular series that you are interested in, it's really beneficial to read the series synopsis, as, you know, I've been guilty of this where a series may have caught my eye based on its cover art. And that can be really misleading sometimes. So really taking the time to read the synopsis, and if that engages you even further, go ahead and read the first couple of chapters. A lot of publishers online offer the first couple of chapters for free for their more popular series. Like I know Viz has My Hero Academia, Naruto, One Piece, etc. I can go on and on. And that can be really beneficial in deciding whether the series is for you or not, because like I said, a synopsis and even the cover art may be misleading. So that's really important when trying to collect a certain series or looking to collect a certain series, is really knowing what you're getting into before you buy it. The next thing that I would recommend for people to do is set a budget. This is very important, as collecting manga can be a very expensive hobby if not done correctly, in my opinion, as there are little ways that you can, you know, avoid paying full price for books, or making sure that you're getting every single penny's worth out of your budget when buying manga. This budget can be a monthly budget. You can put aside, let's say $50 for the month. You can put aside a weekly budget that you may collect. Me personally, I like to set a budget for every 2 weeks, so I allow myself $50 every 2 weeks. That'll give me enough time to kind of research series I may be interested in, collect newer releases that are coming out, and just have some fun money if it's a series I want to blind buy, which I wouldn't recommend doing often, but I like doing it because I get to experience more titles, but I end up shooting myself a lot in the foot with that, because most of the time it's a series that I don't really enjoy. The next tip I would recommend is do not bulk order. Bulk ordering can be beneficial at times. For instance, I bulk order during a certain sales of the year, but that's only because I have such a huge backlog that I typically just like to buy a bunch in advance so that I have a huge reading log for months to come. But when I first started collecting manga, I tended to bulk order, and a lot of the bulk order that I bought, I actually didn't end up enjoying. I picked up a few series that at the time I thought it was a really good deal. So I bought let's say the first 10 volumes, and I got to volume 2 and I'm like, wow, this is a really shitty series. It's a series I don't want to read. I'm not interested in at all. And it took me a while to kind of get rid of. So that is really important for individuals trying to get into collecting manga, is that it can be really tempting at first just to buy everything you see and everything you may hear about, but being very particular and really sticking to your budget is really important in the first few months and years of collecting manga. I recommend keeping consistent, and by that I mean really sticking to putting money aside for your budget. Really sticking, keeping consistent with your pickups, as it's really easy to fall behind, and I'm very guilty of that myself, and I'm still paying for it. But you also don't want to be overly consistent to the point where you may burn yourself out. And I ran into that actually during my second year of collecting manga, where I felt as if it was an obligation, that it was something that I had to do, and that was collecting manga. And that really sucked the fun out of it for me, because I always felt as if I didn't have a choice. And that's why I kind of took a little break from it for a while, because I didn't want to be burnt out. I wanted to keep enjoying not only reading the manga, but buying it as well, really engaging in the deals that I was interested in. And going off that point, I want to go over deals. Those are very important when collecting manga. And I scour through different websites on the internet and various different forums that some of them I actually want to highlight here for you. The first being the Manga Swap Reddit. This is a fantastic website to get manga from other manga collectors, as typically trades are done there. You can also buy stuff with cash and set up deals over there. I've seen a lot of series there that have been sold for really good prices, and they're really friendly to people starting to get into it, especially with collectors trying to get rid of more popular series. They typically will lower the price for newer people trying to get into manga, which I really enjoy seeing. The next place I recommend looking is another Reddit subreddit, and that is actually the Manga Deals subreddit. There are deals posted all the time from various different sites. The admins do a fantastic job, and the other users as well, as trying to really keep their eye out for deals. I've picked up a lot of series that way, such as I Am a Hero Volume 1, for instance, the omnibus I just picked up in July. I was able to pick that up because I look at that subreddit often, and I was able to see that there was an active deal on Amazon for it, and I picked it up right away, which I think is super important when first collecting, as you want to try and pick the series up for as cheap as possible, so that way you can really get the most bang for your buck out of your budget. Another big place I typically look for sales is on WriteStuff.com. I've bought a lot of manga from their site, and they do a fantastic job from pricing out their manga to their customer service to their shipping. They really set the bar for me in terms of buying manga, and that's typically the number one place that I usually send people to when collecting manga, as I think they do a really fantastic job on that end. Another source of deals that I usually recommend people to look out for is either the Books A Million or the Barnes & Noble buy two get one free. They're typically a great deal, especially if you're looking to get more of the larger series, so the box sets. Those can typically run you for $100 to from $60 to $100, if not a little more. But when you factor in 3 box sets, that would typically cost you $300, and you can get one for free, and you have like 60 volumes of a series you really like. I think that's awesome. But that's not something that you want to do often. Like I said, the bulk ordering is something I tend to stay away from after learning my lesson when I first started collecting. So what you really want to take advantage are those series that are either you are currently collecting or series you've been keeping an eye out for that you can snag one for free, that you can really roll the dice on, which I really enjoy those. And you can even pair them with your memberships as well and get an additional percentage off of that as well, which I really like. The next tip I usually recommend to people is seeing what really works for you. And by that, I mean, don't go out of your way to buy and collect manga. First I would say start local. Look at comic book shops. They usually have a manga section in their shop. And a lot of the times you'll actually be able to find a lot of series at a really good price, as, those shops may not sell a lot of them. So, with that point, they actually can sell their manga for a lot cheaper. This would be a very good example of that. I actually picked up this bundle of manga from my local comic book shop, and I actually paid $10 for this. This is a fantastic deal, as it came out to a little under, I think, $1.50 a book, something like that, if not cheaper, if I remember my math correctly. So you just have to keep an eye out for this, especially when those deals can be right down the street from you. Used bookstores can also be a very good source of trying to look for manga. There is another used bookstore that I have near my house that does sell manga. I didn't really like their selection, but it's still worth noting that if you have one around you, go take a look. It doesn't hurt, to take a trip down there, and look around, see what their collection may offer. Next up, I would recommend is looking up on Facebook or any of those local pickup sites such as Craigslist. You can find some really great deals there sometimes as well. Like I remember seeing the whole series of Soul Eater for about $100, and that is a really great price, especially because it's a series that I personally have liked for a while after watching the anime, and I've been wanting to get into the manga. But if you're talking price per volume for a yen press title, that's a great deal. I wish I bought it, but it was a little under my area at the time. So I actually didn't end up picking it up. But still, those are the deals you want to keep out for. Those are the local spots, if you can, go out and try to find. The next place I usually would keep an eye out at in terms of getting some deals on manga and buying some manga in general would be your local larger retailers. So that could be Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Newberry Comics. I recently discovered Bull Moose. They had one in the area where I visited recently. And they had some killer deals on there, which I really enjoyed, and I will be going back to that when I'm in the area. So finding, like I said, what works for you. If there's a large retailer around you can definitely go to them if you would like. You can also check local. And finally, if neither of those work for you, you can check online retailers. And that is typically where I send people 9 times out of 10, just because a lot of the websites that I'm going to recommend, they have some fantastic deals that sometimes even your local shops can't beat, or like a really good deal on Facebook Marketplace. The number one website I usually send people to is Right Stuff. Like I said, they have the absolute best customer service, the best way that they pack and ship their books. It's always nice and safe, so that when you receive it, there's no dents, there's no dings in the books, which is really great from a collecting standpoint, as you can keep everything nice and organized on your shelf. You won't have some volumes that are absolutely bent out of shape and destroyed on the spine, which I really enjoyed about them. They also have really great deals. They not only have weekly deals, but they also hold various sales throughout the year. Most importantly, they hold their 2 big annual sales. They have their birthday sale, which takes place in the summer, and they also have their winter sale, their holiday sale at the end of the year. And those are things that I personally put money aside for, so that I can get those huge orders, because, like I said, they have just a lot of good deals, and it's hard, to to not spend so much money, especially if it's a rule that I break myself, as I tend to stick out of my budget a little bit, but I try not to do it often. But like I said, Right Stuff in general, it's a great place to get deals any day of the week, regardless if they're having their big birthday sales or not, as every week they are having a sale on something. And you can also get a membership. It's $18 a year, but you do get a good percentage off the books off as well, on top of the sale prices. And they also prioritize your orders, meaning that yours typically gets out first, which is a really nice thing, especially if you're trying to itch to get your books in on time. A few of the websites I usually recommend is In Stock Trades. I've bought a few volumes of manga from them, and they're also great as well. Their prices sometimes actually beat Right Stuff. So it's one of those things that you kind of want to check multiple sites for if you are ordering manga online, so that you can guarantee that you are getting the best bang for your buck on that volume. Half Price Books, another great website. Typically they're used though, so it's kind of hit or miss with that, or they have a publisher's mark on it, meaning it's like overstock. Midtown Comics, they do also have some really great sales on manga as well. It's not often, but it's definitely a website that's worth checking out. Amazon is another one of those good sites, but a really big downside is their shipping. It's atrocious when it comes to manga. You can get some really great deals there though. Like, I've lucked out with a few series, and I've gotten some volumes for $4, $3, $2 with Prime shipping, and it's usually 60 to 70% off cover price, which is a really great deal. But you also end up paying a good deal and getting something like this, where your volume is absolutely bent out of shape. And sometimes their customer service is not that good. Like, I tried getting an exchange for this, and at the time they would actually not offer me one, which I was really surprised by. So it's just those things that you kind of have to weigh out your pros and cons when it comes with Amazon, why you can get some straight up steals from there. You also need to be wary of their shipping practices, and if you really care about your condition of manga, which I think is really important. One of the final steps that I usually recommend that people follow when collecting manga is to really not be afraid to branch out. And by that, don't be afraid to pick up a series that is from another genre that you typically wouldn't read, or it's a series that not a lot of people talk about and you haven't heard a lot, but the synopsis really, intrigued you in that sense. Don't be afraid to pick it up. Like I said, you definitely want to stick within your budget. You don't want to completely blind buy, but if it's a series that a lot of people are talking about and it interests you, go pick it up. At most, you have a volume of manga that you don't really like, and that's okay. But best case scenario, you find a series that you really like and you really fall in love with. And that's happened to me a few times, which I would really recommend people to do on their own and really find their own kind of niche of what they like, especially because you may find a romance genre style like book, or like a shoujo that you may really like, or you may find a certain seinen that you would not think of liking, but you end up liking that as well. I think that's really important, especially because you can get burnt out very easily if you just read the same things over and over again, and that's what I ran into. On top of just buying a lot of manga, I ended up just sticking to one genre. I ended up picking a lot of shonen series, and I just got overly exposed to the genre. Not that it's a bad genre, but for me personally, I wanted to get a little bit of variety, because the medium of manga has lots and lots of stories to be experienced and lots of stories to be told, and it's not always told in one format, and it's really worth branching out and looking at different genres that, like I said, you typically wouldn't be interested in. But like I said, worst case, you gave it a shot and you didn't like it. And those were some tips that I would recommend to anyone looking to collect manga, whether you are just starting or you've been collecting for years like I have. I think these tips can really make or break someone's manga collection, because it's really important to set up a budget. If you stick to your budget, you are able to safely build your collection and not have any financial stress or feel as if that your hobby is a financial burden. Really keeping an eye out for deals is important, as you can really maximize your money, especially when you're looking at price per volume, as paying retail sometimes is not simply an option that everyone can afford. So being able to take advantage of deals is really important. And simply finding what works for you is another key tip that I tell people. If you have a comic book shop or a used bookstore down the street that has a good selection of books that you like and you feel as if it's a fair price, buy there. If you feel as if these bigger chains and these bigger bookstores are easier for you, go for it. If shopping online is easier, that's even better, as you can really take advantage of more deals that way as well. So really finding what your strengths and weaknesses are in terms of, you know, your manga collecting abilities, I think is really important to acknowledge as well. As, you know, it doesn't make sense to buy online if you don't typically do so. And it doesn't make sense to scour around for hours for a bookstore when you don't typically do that as well. Really sticking to what you like as well is important, as I know I've seen a lot of people too, including myself, just buy series that everyone's reading just because everyone's reading it, but not really enjoying it. So really trying to figure out what you like can really improve your overall manga collecting experience, because it's going to be something you not only look forward to, but it's something you enjoy every month, every week, or, you know, even every day if you buy a volume of manga every day. While that could be a little pricey, I have actually seen some people do it. And yeah, it keeps it fun, it keeps it lighthearted, and it keeps it something that you don't necessarily need to worry about. It's a hobby. You don't want to, you know, create a burden for yourself financially, physically, and just even emotionally, as, you know, this should be something that's fun for you to collect and fun for you to read. If you have your own tips that I did not mention in this video, please comment them down below. I'm very interested to know, and I would like to pass it on forward to anyone looking to get into manga. As always, thank you so much for coming out, checking out my videos. The support has been overwhelmingly amazing on this channel. You guys and all the love you've been showing me has really kept me going and really kept me motivated to post. So I really do appreciate you for that. If you feel so inclined to do so, please follow me on Twitter. I am very active on there and trying to communicate with you guys and kind of build a community on there as well. If you also like to watch video games, I do have a Twitch channel, which I will hopefully be setting up soon, so that by the time you see this video, it will be very soon, actually. And as always, if you feel like you enjoyed this, please share with your friends. Subscribe down below, ring that notification bell so that every time I post, you get notified. As always, have a wonderful day and stay safe.